So today we're going to be doing something called expanding the square, but we're actually going to be making a heart. And so the first thing I'm going to do is take the paper that I have and I'm going to fold it in half. And it doesn't matter which way you fold it in half. It's got a very bright yellow on one side and this is an orange on this side. And you're going to use a pencil, but I am using a marker so that you can see it better on camera. And I'm going to use as much of the paper as I can, and then I'm going to cut this out. So now I have a heart, and this is called the positive because the shape is always going to be the positive. This is the part that's left behind. That's the opening, and there's air in here, and that's called the negative. So the negative is the space or the air, and the positive is the actual object. So the next thing I'm going to do, again, you would be doing this with your pencil, but I'm going to do it with a marker so you can see it on camera. And you're going to make some very simple shapes. And you could spell a word if you want. So I think I'll try that. And you don't want to get too complicated with your shapes, because if you do, it's going to make it hard to cut them out. So I'm going to do a big eye. And maybe I'll do a heart right here. And I think I'll just do the letter U up here. And I want it to touch the edge so that when I cut it out, it'll be almost like a hinge in that spot. So I'm going to turn this around, do another heart right here. Maybe, oh, that's good. Okay. So I'm not going to have any pieces that get thrown away. All the pieces that I cut are going to be used. And the best way to cut these is when you come to the end, instead of trying to turn the scissors like that, you should open the scissors up and turn the paper. So open the scissors up, turn the paper. Get to the next spot, open them up, turn the paper, not the scissors. So I'm always kind of cutting in the same direction. And so then when we get all the pieces cut out, we are going to put it all together again like that. And then we're going to flip them over, almost like there's a hinge right at the bottom of the L. And we'll get an interesting design like that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all these pieces, and then the next video I'll show you how to assemble it. So I've put all my puzzle pieces back together after I've cut them all out, and I'm going to rotate each one of the shapes back on themselves. Sometimes it's hard to pick them up, so I have a damp sponge right here. And if you're not afraid of germs, you could just lick your finger. And I'm going to fold each one back as if there was a hinge at the bottom of the piece. So the piece that I'm taking out is the positive, and the black part left behind is the negative. The yellow now is the positive. On this one, the orange is the positive L. Till I turn it over, now it's yellow, positive L. And the black is really the negative on the heart shape. going to try and get this one out. Sometimes if I have a lot of trouble, I'll just use my glue stick and turn it over like that, because it'll stick right away to the glue stick, and even though the glue stick is purple, it will dry clear. And get them all turned over. Oh, can't get that one out. And you notice as I turn them over that there's no marker on the yellow one. I decided to put a heart in the middle. Alright, so once I have it fairly lined up, then I'm going to start getting ready to glue it. And I want to glue the big piece down first. So I'm going to glue the heart down. And the best way to do this is to take a scrap piece of paper and put it on there so that you don't get glue all over your table, but you make sure you get all your edges. And as the purple glue turns clear, it's not going to be as sticky. So you want to kind of work fast, but get all the edges. You can always go over it more than once. So if I get half of it done, and then I'm doing the other half and the first half starts to dry, I can go back and put a second layer on before I try to glue it down. Don't worry if you get a little bit of glue on the wrong side. It's gonna dry clear. Okay, try not to tear it. Can also wet my finger and kind of re-wet the glue a little bit. That will also help it to stick. And I'm going to place it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be close to where I took the pieces out. Just don't glue those pieces down. You can move them away a little bit. And get that down. Move your pieces out just a little bit from the edge. And try and get it all glued down. And sometimes the corners and stuff lift up. So use the warmth of your hand just for about, I don't know, 20 seconds. Move it to a new spot. And that will also help to keep it glued down. If parts are lifting up, you can lift them up a little bit more and get the glue underneath and stick it down more. Let's make sure. It seems like most of it's all down. Alright, so then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put the glue, I'm going to put the piece right on top of the glue stick, like that. And then place it and put it down. Again, I'm going to use the warmth of my finger to get it to stick for about 10 seconds. Doing it on top like that. And if you have shapes that are similar in size, you want to be careful that, you know, you're not putting the wrong heart. So make sure that you're turning it and putting it in there as a puzzle piece to make sure you got the right heart in the right spot if you're doing hearts or whatever shape you might be doing. I've got some purple on the yellow. I'm not going to worry about that. It's going to dry clear. So when I have it all done, I'm going to take a picture of it and I'm going to upload it in Google Classroom, and you will see this one as an example for the project that you're going to be doing, but you will also upload yours. And you know, it gives you a few seconds with the glue to slide it around to kind of line it up. I'm not too worried about that glue that's on there. I'm going to take my sponge and wipe it a little bit. Clean it off. Okay, and I feel like this might be the wrong way, so I'm going to put it back in. Yeah, it was turned. So I want to make sure that I'm putting that the right way around. Put that in. Slide it till it meets right at the edge. So it should line up right along the outside edge of the heart. edge to edge like a hinge of a door. Again, it's not picking up, so I'm going to use my glue stick to pick it up. Slide it around on the glue. Not really worried about getting glue on the front of the letter because it will dry clear. In the last video, we cut out a symmetrical heart, and symmetrical just means that it's the same on both sides. And so this is the negative space that was left behind from one of the hearts that I cut out. This is the last one that I did. It's a little smaller. This one is taller. So in this taller one, I decided to make it an asymmetrical heart. So I cut it out symmetrically because it was easier. And then I cut a little bit extra off one side to make the heart asymmetrical. So if you'd like your heart to be asymmetrical, you can cut it out symmetrically by folding it in half and then cut a little bit extra off one of the sides. So in this project where I'm cutting out shapes from my positive shape, I made some really long pieces. And so if you're going to make something that's really long, you want to make sure you don't cut through to the other side because you want to keep your original shape solid. But you also want to think about your placement where this is going to go on the page before you start gluing. Because if I started gluing now, while I have this all together, if I glued the heart right here and then I flip this back, you're going to see that it's going to go off the page. So it's going way down here, which is not going to show on my project, and then I would have to cut that off. So I want to move the heart up like that so that when I flip it back on itself, it's going to stay on the page. And the other thing that I'm seeing is that when I line it up, like my eye wants it to go straight down because I feel like it's kind of going up straight, but it's not. I have to line up the hinge right here. So I'm lining up the straight edge this way, and you're going to see that it goes off at an angle. It's not coming straight down. So you really want to think about that when you're doing it. Make sure that you're looking at this edge going straight across and not tilting it like that, but bringing it all the way up so it creates a straight line across. And you'll see that when you have a really long line, it comes out at a different angle. It's not going to come straight down. So take the next piece. Let's see what happens with that one when I turn it over. And this one seems to line up a little bit more like I'm expecting because it's so much shorter. Let's see what happens with this one. Alright, so that's kind of making almost like a U shape. This one's making like an L shape. So make sure that you've got enough space, otherwise you're going to have to cut that off before you start gluing. And which piece do you glue down first? Do you glue these little pieces down first, or do you glue the big positive heart down first? If you said glue the little pieces first, that is not correct because it's really hard to line them up and know exactly where they're going to go. If you said glue the pink heart down first, then you are right. You're going to glue this down first and then the pieces that you cut out.